Good morning. It is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is a special report, follow-up and analysis of the testimony of Secret Service Administrator Kimberly Cheadle yesterday in front of the U.S. House of Representatives. Okay, well, that was interesting. We're experiencing the latest Chinese import, the old saying that we're living in interesting times. Well, I don't know what people were watching or expecting to watch yesterday, but it was quite a show. It started off as most congressional hearings. A bunch of people get together, photographers show up, and the witness is brought in and is sworn in. But there were a few things missing. Whenever there's a serious thing that's gone down and Congress wants to find out, and there's the head of some agency or department responsible, they don't come in by themselves with just a little portfolio with notepaper in it. They usually come in with a couple of aides who have a whole bunch of binders. Because when Congress gets ticked off, they really want answers. That's the way it's pretty much been for anything of significance. When the Titanic sank, there was a congressional hearing that was done pretty shortly afterwards in Washington. And the people responsible or on hand or whatever, they showed up. There was a lot of data. They even had a big ship model they brought in. You didn't see any of that here. The look on Ms. Cheadle's face could best be described as contemptuous. Totally without any emotion whatsoever. And that I found very disturbing, and I'm sure everybody on that committee did as well, because that face just looked like, I can't be touched. This is insignificant. This is nothing. Very, very hard to get that. Now, if you haven't read much about this, suffice it to say that Administrator Cheadle didn't really answer any questions. She was very good at avoiding them, of not answering things straight off. And this really angered everybody on that committee, no matter what side of the fence they were on. Now, unfortunately, politics always gets into something like this. All the left-wingers, all the Democrats up on the committee were using this as an excuse to talk about how evil the AR-15 is, and we have to get rid of them, and mass shootings, and it was kind of ridiculous. But there were a few members of the Republican side of things that were trying to connect this to Iran. Iran was mentioned a couple of times, of course. They're playing that game. But overall, most of them were just angry that their questions weren't being answered. The real superstar of the testimony was Nancy Mace of South Carolina, the lady in pink. She is now the pinup girl of every right-wing American man out there. She melted a lot of hearts. And but the lady's smart. She used the term, this is, I have to be careful because this does go out on different podcasts, but she used the S word to describe what Miss Cheadle is full of. And that was really, really refreshing because that's what everybody was thinking. Now, there was also another question which was raised, and of all people, AOC, Ms. Cortez, who anybody who listens to this podcast knows I'm not a fan of. In fact, anybody who thinks Trump should be president wouldn't like her. But to her credit, she asked a very interesting question of Ms. Cheadle. And she said, how come the security perimeter was smaller than the range of an AR-15, which is 400 to 600 yards for accuracy? How come it was smaller than the range of the most popular, most common rifle in the United States? And Ms. Cheadle said something to the effect of, well, there's all sorts of weapons out there. That was a real good question. And if anything, it has underscored exactly how much of a setup this was. Nobody in this country, nobody in government, nobody in Congress, and just about nobody in the media, including the mainstream media, believe this is some lone nut who decided to take a few shots at former President Trump. Nobody's buying it. The Pac-Man perimeter, where there's a nice little wedge cut out where this particular building was. You have sound analysis. You have more and more video footage and photographs coming out. One of the more bizarre ones was claims that there was a UFO in the background. I don't know how real that is. I did see the picture, and I found that kind of humorous. So I guess everybody was in on the act, including extraterrestrials. Okay, but as I said yesterday, this was the most recorded event of its kind probably in history. And there's just too much information for whoever was behind it to get away with it. And that is quite evident. Now, Ms. Cheadle showed nothing but contempt. It's a foregone conclusion she's going to lose her job. Whether she quits or whether she's canned is not really important right now. But the look on her face was, none of this is significant. It could be that she feels she's safe. She could just have one of the greatest poker faces in the history of congressional testimony. But she did show contempt. She didn't answer any questions. She didn't even come prepared. She didn't know how tall Donald Trump was. And the other thing that I found really bizarre, she hasn't even visited the site where this went down. I mean, if there's a hurricane, the president shows up to find out what's going on, and the president's usually not responsible for the hurricane. So what does this all mean? Well, the mummy's unraveling, and the bad guys are really scared, and scared people do really stupid things. Now, it's also come out that Ms. Cheadle, when she was a regular Secret Service agent, did work with the Bidens. She developed a friendship with Jill Biden, the First Lady, the current First Lady. And this just shows how rotten things have gotten, not just with this administration, but with the U.S. government as a whole. This is nepotism, folks. Another name for it is Hermann Goering disease. Now, I'm a big fan of history. I consider myself a pretty good historian, and World War II is one of my specialties. Really, what took down the National Socialists in Germany in World War II and what set them up for a fall was nepotism, favoritism. Hermann Goering didn't really know what he was doing when it came to running the Luftwaffe. He got the job because he was a good old party man and friend of Mr. Hitler. And I could talk about that for hours. But if you look into how things work, usually when a government goes down, it goes down because they don't put competent people in power. They put people in power that they know. They put people in power who have a friend of a friend or something like that. And this is what we're seeing now. However, there's something far more sinister under the rafters in this one. And it remains to be seen where it's going to go. Now, if you add all this in, suddenly Mr. Biden is leaving the scene. He's out of sight. Ms. Harris, who is going to be maybe the nominee, I don't think she's necessarily going to be. I think Hillary's going to give her a run for her money. We'll see how that goes. But if you caught something the other day, the recording, was it a recording or was it live? If you watch Kamala Harris at that event where Joe Biden supposedly called in, you'll hear that she starts to say the word, what could be recording, instead says call. It's really telling. So nobody really knows what's going on here, but whoever was behind this assassination attempt on Donald Trump is not going to get away with it. They've made too many mistakes. There's too many witnesses. There's too many things that haven't been taken into account by the people who were behind it. Could be a handful of people. just like it was with Lincoln. It was a handful of people at Mary Surratt's boarding house. Or it could be much larger than that. In fact, this morning, what we're hearing about is the man in the suit who climbed up on the roof shortly afterwards and asked for pictures of the body be sent to him, the shooter's body, the alleged shooter's body. Well, this is going to get more and more interesting, but I'll tell you what, Ms. Cheadle, if Steve Bannon is doing a few months for contempt of Congress, you should be doing 20 to life. That was quite a performance yesterday. Good luck. That's it for today. If you like what you hear, or I should say like what's being reported, please like and subscribe. Please leave comments. If you are a paid subscriber, you can leave comments for me on Substack. That is one of the criteria. I can be reached at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm also up on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. You can also, of course, get me up on Substack with a general message. That's the address there is aureliancolumn.substack.com. I'm up on Telegram, Aurelian Column there, and a few other places around the internet if you look for me. That's it for today. Be good, be safe, be vigilant, and good day.